What's up, guys? Welcome to the Sports 2.0 Network's YouTube channel. I'm your host of today's video, Tanner Kern. We have an excellent panel, brand new faces, guys. You're really going to enjoy what these lovely people have to say. We're talking about Floyd Mayweather versus Logan Paul, probably the stupidest fight we have ever seen, but nobody can get their eyes off of it. My panel today, Grant Mitchell. How you doing?
Doing well, Tanner. I agree this will be the stupidest fight we've ever seen, but I am thrilled to talk about it.
Jaya Williams.
Hi.
Akshay Kumbar.
How you doing, guys? Excited to talk about this fight.
And Will Reed.
Yeah, we got a 5-division world champion versus a YouTuber. It should be a good one.
It should be. So I'm going to tell a quick little story before we get into this. I remember back when I was in high school, I was watching Floyd Mayweather fight Manny Pacquiao, one of the biggest fights that had been in place, going back to that date. And we're talking about Floyd Mayweather versus Logan Paul. Now, to think that we have come from Floyd Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao to Floyd Mayweather versus Logan Paul is it's a little strange. It's disappointing, but I guess this is what people want to watch in today's world. So we're going to get right into it. Grant, first of all, what are your thoughts on this fight? We'll save our predictions for the end, but just, initial reactions to it.
Well, I think this is rather unprecedented, to say the least. Like you mentioned, the fact that we have these two completely different worlds crossing over. You have who some people think is the greatest fighter of all time taking on a guy known for making vlogs and sparking controversy on YouTube. So the fact that these two have even crossed paths is crazy, to say the least. And of course, we also have Logan Paul's brother, Jake Paul, that has agreed to fight Tyron Woodley, which is, an even, if not as big of a deal, maybe even a bigger deal given the standing of both of those two. But this fight is just crazy, the likes of which we've never seen before. And even though I have a feeling most people know what's going to happen, it should be a spectacle to see.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I love about this fight is you don't know what's going to happen. But the YouTube guys, the Paul brothers, they are moneymakers for sure. They're businessmen. They know how to hype a fight up for sure. Now, Jaya, talk to me. What are your thoughts on this?
I couldn't agree more. I think a 26-year-old popular YouTuber versus a 44-year-old retired boxing legend makes absolutely no sense, but I think that's exactly what's going to make it so entertaining, and that's why there's so much buzz surrounding it. There's no doubt, I feel like there's no doubt in my mind that Mayweather is probably just not even taking this very seriously, and it's a lot of money opportunity for sure, but it will definitely be very entertaining.
Yeah, that's a good point. Mayweather better be taking this seriously, because the thing about boxing is, one punch can end your night. And if we get a screenshot of Logan Paul knocking Floyd Mayweather out, even just, knocking him off his game a little bit, that's going to be all over the internet. Will, Akshay, we're going to start with Will, but I'm hoping one of you guys say Logan Paul has a chance to win. I'm hoping, but I don't know if we're going to get that. Will, what do you think?
I don't know if I will say Logan Paul has that chance to win, but the spectacle of having a YouTuber versus a 50-0 retired boxer is really something that I did not expect to see in my lifetime. I didn't expect to see YouTubers deciding to step up and go up against probably one of the greatest fighters of our generation, maybe one of the greatest fighters of all time. Credits to Logan Paul for taking on this challenge. I don't know if Akshay will take on the chance of saying that Logan Paul will have a chance, but I'll give it to him.
I think, Logan Paul, obviously he's, much bigger and, taller than Floyd. I think that gives him an advantage in this fight, but I don't think that it's, even possible for him to, win against somebody who's 50-0 in professional boxing. I think that's a little too much to ask for from him. And I know obviously that, Floyd Mayweather's taking this fight, obviously for the money, but I think that also he kind of wants this kind of, thing that this trend we're seeing where YouTubers and other people are, taking up boxing and thinking it as a, recreational sport kind of. I think that trend is kind of what Floyd Mayweather is taking here. He kind of wants to just end that right now and end the debate of, if other people can take up boxing and be good at that sport.
Yeah, and you bring up a really interesting point there, Akshay, and I want to throw this question to Jaya first. YouTubers are trying to get into boxing. We've seen professional athletes get into YouTube, like Trevor Bauer doing his vlogs with the Dodgers and all that. Is it okay? It's okay, obviously, for an athlete to get into YouTubing and vlogging. Is it okay for a YouTuber to step into the ring and fight the greatest boxer of all time? After only 2 fights, he's 0-1 on the professional level, but he has been knocked out twice by KSI, fellow YouTuber. So, Jaya, do you think it's okay for a YouTuber to get into boxing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, especially with Logan Paul's case specifically, he's only done 1 fight where he did lose to KSI. So even if he is a skilled boxer, there's really just, he has no advantages against Mayweather. Like, a lot of people have been bringing up the size difference. And while, yes, that's a big deal because Mayweather's 5'8", Paul is 6'2", there's about a 40-pound weight difference. So with that, he does have that going in his advantage. But I mean, Mayweather is a professional boxer. You know, he's 50-0 in his career. He has lightning quick hand speed, great reaction instincts. You know, the skill level is just not going to be working in Paul's favor. And I think that the show in the match, one is a professional and one is obviously an amateur just getting into the sport, which is why it's fascinating that this whole match is happening at all.
Yep, definitely. We got a comment from Eric Neff. If you enjoy getting punched in the face, I believe that was the answer to my question. Where is it okay for a YouTuber to get in the ring? So I want to throw it to Will now. Will, what's your thoughts on this? Should a YouTuber get the opportunity after 1 amateur fight, 1 professional fight to fight, like you said, arguably the greatest boxer of all time?
I mean, he's got the following to put up a good fight. I don't know how many subscribers he has on YouTube, plenty of millions. He's got the following. But what I find interesting is he actually has some sort of background in combat sports. He was a wrestler in high school. He was very good. He gave it up to do his whole YouTube thing. As you've seen, wrestling doesn't exactly translate to the boxing scene. We saw Ben Askren get knocked on his butt from Jake Paul, Logan Paul's brother. But I do not know if he really has the boxing qualities to put up a good fight against Floyd Mayweather.
Yep, totally agree. Akshay, would you agree with Will there?
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's very easy to, I don't want to discredit, any YouTuber or anything, but I feel like it's much easier to take up YouTube as a professional athlete. I think it's much easier to take up YouTube rather than a YouTuber trying to take up a professional sport, because people are working their lives to get into the professional sport. I think it's a weird correlation there. And I think it's too much of a skill gap between Mayweather and Paul.
Yeah. Now, Grant, I got a question for you. 50 pounds and 6 inches separates these fighters. Okay. So in the weigh-in, Mayweather 5'8", 147. You got Paul 6'2", 199. So roughly 50 pounds, 6 inches. How much is that going to make a difference on Sunday night?
Listen, if we were talking about Jake Paul or probably anybody else on this earth, it would make a huge difference. But in the 2 fights we've seen from Logan Paul, he is very much a defensive fighter. He likes to throw a lot of pull counters, slip counters. He's very much a counter puncher. In other words, he waits for his opponent to do something before he then responds to it. So really, when you look at somebody with an advantage in reach and weight, A, the long reach helps them jab to keep themselves out of trouble and their opponent at bay. And B, the extra weight really gives them more power on their punches when they're going for a knockout. But we've seen that Logan is not that type of fighter. He is content to sit on the back foot and just wait for someone to attack him, which, if you want to play that style, Floyd is the best fighter who has ever done that. Floyd is the best defensive fighter there has ever been. So I really don't see how this height and weight advantage, quote unquote, will really be an advantage in the actual fight.
Yeah, very true. Now, Jaya, we got 2 defensive fighters, as Grant said. How is that going to look to a spectator? Are we going to see an exciting fight, or are we going to see 2 guys run away from each other all night?
That really is the question. It's hard because I know that even though they're both going to be reacting to each other, they know that, everybody watching wants a good show. So I don't think it's going to necessarily be them running away from each other the whole time. I think Mayweather knows how to watch his opponent, study their reactions, and set up however many different types of punches that he knows that they're not going to be able to run away from. So I do think it's still going to be a good fight, like an entertaining fight for sure.
Yep. Now the question is, Will, Will the fight be as entertaining as the build-up?
Definitely not. I mean, at we had the event where Jake Paul took Floyd Mayweather's hat, got kicked out of the fight, can't go to see his brother fight, probably the greatest boxer of all time, best boxer of our generation. We've had plenty of good face-offs at their weigh-ins, and I don't think the fight is really going to live up to anything. Everyone's going to be buying the pay-per-view on whatever the Jake Paul's fight is, Triller, I think. But no one's going to be really excited after it, I think, with the outcome.
Yeah, and it's funny you bring up the hat because I got the clip right here. Let's check this out. You got Jake Paul staring down Floyd Mayweather, takes his hat, runs away. Not a smart move there, I don't think, personally. I think this just angered Floyd. It angered the Team Money team. It angered his whole brand. But good news for Jake. He started a clothing line after this and is probably making millions from stealing one hat. This is what it is. It's a spectacle for sure. Now, Akshay, you smiling over there. What's your thoughts on Jake Paul stealing his hat? Is this a good move for his brother? What's the deal, man?
I don't know. I mean, personally, I think that Floyd kind of just like doesn't really care, doesn't really, bat an eye to it. But I mean, if Floyd does win, I think that not only does it hurt Logan Paul that his brother is like doing all these publicity stunts before the fight, but I think it just also kind of, damages that whole, YouTuber reputation of like being able to fight professional boxers and stuff like that. So it's just, I don't know. I feel that Jake Paul kind of doesn't look out for his brother and his actions. And I think that Logan might have to pay the price for that.
Yeah. I don't think your subscribers should allow you to get into the ring with the greatest boxer of all time. Like, that's what we're saying. Your subscribers are letting you like buy a fight, basically. Jay, you're smiling over there. What are your thoughts on this?
I think it's definitely if there's anything that Jake Paul knows how to do, it's create a circus around this event. I think that it possibly could have even been intentional. I mean, Mayweather's reaction was definitely very real, but I think that it could have been done just to create a bigger circus around the event. It got a lot of media attention, but it was definitely just a silly thing to do and ended with Paul on the black eye. So you can't help but chuckle a little bit at just the ridiculousness of it all.
Yeah. Now, I laughed. I thought it was funny. I think it's good for the fight necessarily, but does anyone think it was like a little disrespectful, like two boxers that have come before? Imagine Muhammad Ali right now in his grave, thinking about seeing what's going on with his sport, a sport that he built. Does anyone think this is just a little disrespectful for boxing?
Well, that was one of the first questions that was posed even before Floyd and Ben Askren and all these real athletes got involved in it. When it was just KSI versus Logan Paul, even in the first fight where they had headgear, people were saying or asking the question, is this good for boxing or is it not? On the one hand, you have a ton of eyes being brought into the sport. And the MMA, UFC was starting to take over the viewership from boxing. So boxing was really going downhill. And of course, on the other side, yeah, these people are watching it, but they're watching people that aren't that good, don't have that much respect or experience from the sport. And so the professional fighters, that's when they started to step in and say, even though we are getting way more viewers, this is not good for the sport. So I think it's an interesting question. Personally, I would say it is absolutely a great thing for the sport because, like I mentioned, you have a generation of gamers or people who would just spend all their free time on YouTube. Now they're suddenly watching Floyd Mayweather. Maybe they get into the sport of boxing. I think it's great for the sport.
Oh yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I just think a little disrespectful there, just with the old boxing and stuff. I mean, but you're right. I look at Floyd Mayweather. I look at Manny Pacquiao. Those are the last boxers that I really can say like I watched. The sport has kind of faded away. Now, the best part about boxing, I think, is anyone can win. If any one of us stepped in the ring with Floyd Mayweather, technically we have a shot. I guess that's the way with all sports. But really, all Logan Paul has to do is land one punch. Now, the rules are a little weird. So let's talk about this for a minute. 8 3-minute rounds, no headgear, which is all normal. But there's no official winners, but there is knockouts. There is going to be a ref in the ring. They have the discretion to call a knockout. But this fight is not going on anyone's record. I want to start with Will. What's your thoughts on the rules of this fight? And then we'll transition over to Akshay.
Yeah, I think these rules are really interesting. Obviously, with the no winner declared, if there's no knockout, even if there is a knockout, there will be no winner declared. There's going to be no blemish to Floyd's 50-0 record. However, if Floyd was to be put on his butt by Logan Paul with one punch, people are going to remember that.
Yeah.
People are going to remember Floyd losing to Logan Paul in his last career, most likely his last career fight. So I think the whole idea of having no winner declared is kind of stupid. I mean, Floyd obviously has the advantage here with his boxing experience, but I just think the whole idea is kind of lame.
Yep. Akshay, what do you got, man?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Will. I think that, you know, Floyd doesn't really, you know, want this to be on his record, but obviously, you know, if he does get knocked out, it's going to be on Twitter, it's going to be everywhere, you know. There's going to be memes about it, you know. So I think that it really, even if there is no official winner or judges, that the fact that there is still a knockout, like, and that is like the end of the fight, whenever the ref calls it, I think that, you know, obviously will still impact, you know, the legacy of Floyd if he does get knocked out, and if Logan Paul gets knocked out, you know, obviously, I think that'll somewhat, you know, silence the debate, like I was talking about before, about, you know, how YouTubers and professional boxers, you know, don't really mix in the sport of boxing.
Yeah, and I think the thing is, this fight, most likely Mayweather is going to win. Now, a bet on Jake Paul or Logan Paul, I mean, is probably it's gonna win you a lot of money if he was able to deliver. Not that they're probably gonna have some props on it because there is no official winner, all that stuff. But when you look at this fight, Jay, I want to ask you this. How is Logan Paul going to twist the results at the end? I'm sure he's going to create a video saying how he dominated the fight, even if Floyd Mayweather, lands more punches and all that. But do you think Logan Paul does something at the end to talk about how he won, or, you know, have a screenshot from him landing one punch and just blow that up on the internet the whole time?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Logan Paul and Jake Paul have made their career out of exaggerating things and making them, you know, more than they really are for views and clicks and stuff like that. So I have no doubt that whatever the outcome is, what we all expect it to be, he'll try to have a reasoning or have a statement at the end. But I also think that Logan Paul, he's not completely stupid. He knows he's dealing with Floyd Mayweather, potentially the greatest boxer of all time. And, their practice footage just got released, and Logan Paul was pretty intimidated by what he saw. Meanwhile, Mayweather is saying that he essentially has no strategy going into this match. I think he feels like it's going to be an easy match for him, and Paul knows he's going to have to bring his A game and knows what he's going up against. So if something happens in the end, whatever excuse he makes, you know, it's on video for the world to see.
Yeah. Now, Grant, I want to transition to you for this question from Eric Neff. If Floyd loses, does he fight again, or is he laughing his way to the bank? Obviously, there's no winners declared, but whatever happens, does Floyd Mayweather fight again after Sunday night?
Well, listen, after Floyd retired, he fought an 18-year-old kickboxer, and people were saying he has no shame. The fact that he is taking this fight, there are no limits to what he might do. I think he could pull a Tom Brady and say he's never really retiring. He's just going to keep fighting as long as they let him. Or maybe he's going to be like Mike Tyson, and he's going to fight in exhibition matches when he's in his mid-50s. Floyd, above all else, is going to find a way to make money. I do not believe this is the last we're going to see of him, even though we probably wanted to forget about him for the past few years and just remember his legacy as it is. I don't think he's going away.
Yep, very true. Now, how does Logan Paul win this fight? How does he find a way to win? And I'm talking about actually in the ring, like getting Floyd on his back. Will, what are your thoughts?
I think it comes down to what we talked about earlier, that reach advantage and that size advantage. Obviously, he's got the 50-pound weight difference, the 6-inch reach advantage. You just got to keep Floyd at bay. If he lets Floyd get under his reach and lets Floyd come in with the body shots or some uppercuts, he's not going to win. Floyd won't give him anything easy. So if he keeps him at a distance and lands a few jabs, lands a few punches, maybe he gets that knockout punch, I think he could have some sort of chance.
Yeah. Now, when I think of the Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor fight, Floyd had an excellent stamina the whole night. That is why he was able to beat Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor gave him a fight, though. Akshay, if this goes, 8 rounds, does Logan Paul have a chance of tiring out Floyd Mayweather, or is Mayweather going to be good to go the whole night?
I honestly think he'll be good the whole night. I mean, if eight 3-minute rounds, I think that easily he
Light
can do
work.
that. He's been he's been fighting all his life, so it's something that he is trained for. He has his stamina built up. I think that I think Floyd's strategy might be to just tire out Logan, and then in the later rounds kind of just go on the attacking side a little bit, like he did with Conor McGregor.
Yeah. Now, Jaya, does Logan Paul get that one punch on Mayweather that knocks him to the side? We get a great picture of it, and it's blown up on social media. Does he get that luxury at least on Sunday, or no?
I'm not gonna say it's impossible, but I personally would not expect that. I think even though Paul is bigger, the skill level is just a huge difference. Mayweather is so skilled. He's very quick thinking, very quick reacting. So I'm not so sure that Logan's going to be able to get that punch in. Now, if he does, it's going to be very interesting. Social media Sunday night's going to be crazy. But I personally don't think it's really a matter of who's going to get knocked out. I think it's just a matter of how long is Paul going to last in the ring against Mayweather, honestly.
Yeah, very true.
If I can hop in here, Tanner, you and Akshay were talking about does Logan, or who has the advantage stamina-wise if the fight goes the distance. We saw in the first fight that Logan Paul had with KSI, with head guards, he was completely out of gas in the final round, and he was really trending downhill after the first 3 rounds. Now, in the second fight with KSI, he had that illegal knockdown to the back of the head. KSI wasn't really the best opponent in the 6th round. But if Logan had any sort of juice in him, he would have knocked KSI out cold. Like he was pretty much out on his feet after being hit in the back of the head. So, we were talking about the weight potentially being an advantage for landing the knockout blow. It's also going to slow him down much more than Floyd's smaller stature will in the later rounds. So, really, unless Logan finds a super early knockout punch, I just don't see this being anything more than a spar, really. I think Floyd's just going to come in, touch him up a little bit, get out of harm's way, make $50 million, and go on about his business.
Yeah. Now, I know there's no official winner. We keep saying that, but do we all agree Floyd Mayweather is going to win this fight?
I think we all agree on that one.
But now here's my question for you guys. Who really wins this fight when we look at what Floyd has to lose versus what Logan Paul has to lose? I mean, say there is a chance Logan Paul does knock Floyd Mayweather out. That diminishes everything he's done in his career, in my opinion, at least. So when we look at the money, I mean, they're both having a decent payday. Floyd's having a better payday, obviously. But Floyd has a lot to lose with what he has done, his 50-0 record and all that. So I want to start with Grant here. What's the deal, man? Who has more to lose, and who's going to win outside of the ring on Sunday night?
Well, Floyd absolutely has more to lose, as you mentioned. He's never, if we want to look at it for what it is, he's never really been in a situation where he's lost. When you've seen people like Mike Tyson get knocked out for the first time, he was never really the same, but it didn't matter because of all the work he'd done. And the person who knocked him out was one of the greatest boxers of that era. This is Logan Paul, like we've been talking about. He's just a little YouTuber. And, if you want to talk about what does Logan Paul have to lose, we won't even go into the details of it, but he had that massive controversy, which he found a way out of through boxing. And then in that boxing fight that was supposed to get him out of that, he then lost that. So, as far as things to lose, he's pretty much lost everything and still managed to build himself back up into what he is today. So, whether you're a fan of it or not, I don't really think that a loss means anything for Logan Paul. Whereas, as you said, a loss for Floyd would be absolutely everything.
Yep, definitely. Will, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Grant here. I mean, if Logan comes out and goes a full 8 rounds with Floyd Mayweather, we're going to be seeing that on his YouTube channel for the next month. We're going to be seeing him talk about how he was able to make it 8 rounds with probably the greatest boxer of our generation. He'll probably bring that to his grave. But for Floyd Mayweather here, he's never taken a fight that he thinks he's going to lose. I mean, we saw the comment earlier from Eric that he dodged a bunch of fighters throughout his career. He dodged Canelo when he was younger. he's dodged a lot of fighters because he doesn't want to take fights that he thinks he might have a chance to lose. So I think if Floyd comes in here and ends up letting Logan Paul get to his head, maybe ends up coming out as a loser, he definitely has a lot to lose, and it's going to lose that legacy.
Yep. Akshay, what do you think?
Yeah, I think in outside of the ring, I think that, the big winner could be Floyd. I think not only does he get, a massive payday, but, kind of just like silences Logan Paul for, at least a couple of months, and, it would shut down the debate of, that I keep mentioning, if, can YouTubers, take up professional boxing? I think that, obviously there's this whole YouTube versus TikTok thing that's going on, but, I think that if YouTubers wanted to fight professionally, they'd have to, obviously train more or, take it more seriously than I think that, Logan Paul and Jake Paul have been doing.
Yep. What do you think, Jaya?
I agree with a lot of the points that were made by everybody. I think that, Logan Paul really has everything to gain from this. It's great publicity for him, and it's great money for the both of them. I mean, Floyd, anything with Floyd Mayweather's name in it is going to attract headlines. Paul's social media following is going to attract a younger audience, and they knew that. So this is definitely just a business decision that no matter the outcome of the fight, I think everybody knows that it's going to be beneficial. It's going to get views. It's going to get money. So either way, I mean, obviously, should Mayweather lose or get knocked out, whatever the case may be, that would be very embarrassing for him. But I think he's very confident that that's not going to be the outcome. So they're both set, in my opinion.
Yep, definitely. So final question for you guys. Here are the odds courtesy of DraftKings Sportsbook. You got Mayweather at -700, Paul at +550. You can take a little money and put it on Paul. Obviously, if Paul wins, you're going to make a lot because it's +550. Or you can go all in on Mayweather, make the same amount, but you have a chance of risking a lot of money. Are you going to put money on Mayweather at -700 or Paul at +550? And we can start with Akshay.
Personally, I like to take a lot of risks. So if I were betting money on this, I'd take a lot of money on Mayweather at this point. I mean, I think that he has an extremely high chance of winning, or at least knocking out Logan Paul. So I would take all the money on Mayweather and see how much I can get out of that.
See, I'm a low risk bettor. I'm going to put money on Paul, see if I can get something out of it. +550 is pretty good. Jaya, what do you think? All in on Mayweather or a little money on Paul to have a big payday?
I'm definitely going to put my money with Mayweather for sure. I think it's a smart risk to take.
Rodney Newpel, you have to put the money on Paul and hope this is rigged. I agree with that all the way. So Grant, what's your thoughts? Who you putting the money on?
Listen, if there's another situation, I would love to take the long shot, but I'm gathering up everybody I know, combining all of our life savings, putting it all on Mayweather.
Will, how about you, man?
I'm thinking this looks like a little hedge opportunity here. Put a decent sized amount of money on Floyd Mayweather. Put that small purse on Logan Paul. If Logan comes out victorious and you lose that Floyd Mayweather bet, then it is what it is. But if you win that Floyd bet, putting your life savings, as Grant was saying, then you come out victorious.
Yep, love it. So one final question. Hey, I got one more. I'm the host. I can do what I want here, right? What are you guys mostly looking for? What's the one thing you guys are looking forward to on Sunday night for this fight? We'll start with Jaya.
I'm most looking forward to just being entertained and just seeing how it plays out. There's so much build-up surrounding it that I think it'll just be interesting to watch and see what happens.
Yep. Will, let's toss it over to you. You got a fan, Eric Neff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm ready for the spectacle. We have the fight going down in Miami Gardens, Florida, and at Hard Rock Stadium. We previously had Billy Joe Saunders versus Canelo Alvarez, a much better boxing match if you wanted to tune into that. But we previously had that at Hard Rock Stadium. That was a great fight. So I'm looking forward to the spectacle.
Akshay, what about you, man?
Honestly, I'm looking forward to the reactions after the fight. Whoever may win, I want to see, how the world reacts to it, how, the fighters react to it as well in the moment.
Yep. Grant, take us home.
I'm looking forward to putting this behind us and talking about Wilder versus Fury Part 3.
Love it. Rachel thinks that's funny as well. So, guys, this was great. Thanks for joining me. This was Jaya Williams. You can follow her at Jaya A. Araye. Araye. There you go. Got Grant Mitchell at Mile Mitchell, Akshay Kumbar at Akshay Kumbar _, and then Will Reed at _Will Reed _. This was great, guys. Thanks for joining me. Hopefully we get a good fight, and we'll probably recap it next week on the Sports 2.0 show.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yep.